Hello folks and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a little bit of a transition update for you all, and it might not be one that you expect. So as many of you know, top surgery is my really big goal for 2024. That's what we're working towards. I've talked about it in some of my updates and also some of my Chat to Get Ready with Me's. And I've made a really big decision as far as what I want from my top surgery. A decision that I have been deliberating on for probably over 3 years. And that is the decision of whether or not I am keeping my nipples with top surgery. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying this whole time I have wanted to keep my nipples. Like many people, I really love the idea of getting them pierced after top surgery, and that would be one of my big goals. Also, like many people, I've seen the very broad spectrum of mixed results that come with keeping your nipples and getting nipple grafts. In fact, given what I do for a living, working as a professional piercer and seeing so many different bodies in and out of my piercing room, I've maybe seen and interacted with more post-op top surgery nipples than your average person. And so because of all of this, I have decided that I am not keeping my nipples when I get top surgery done. Now, for anyone who knows me and has heard me talk about top surgery and talking about my goals, you know that this is a little bit of a surprising decision. I was pretty team keep my nipples and figure out a way to make it work kind of this whole time up until very, very recently. And a big hope in that was the potential of getting them pierced afterwards. But I've just kind of finally come to terms with myself that with my current anatomy, my results from nipple grafts will probably not be something that I'm happy with. And if I have nipple grafts that I don't like, it is very, very difficult to work around that. You can do some stuff with tattooing. Obviously, you can get a revision. I know folks who've gotten 4 or 5 revisions on their nipples. It's a lot. And if I had different anatomy now to start, we would probably be having a different conversation. As it is, I did a whole blog post on my website about my personal nipple piercing experience and all of the difficulties I've had. I have very flat, borderline inverted anatomy as it stands currently, and very small anatomy. And as much as there is this part of me that dreams of getting nipple grafts and having these more masculine looking nipples and more protrusive nipples that can be pierced, I gotta be honest with myself, I don't have very protrusive nipples as it is right now. Getting them grafted is not gonna magically help me have more protrusion or help me have more tissue there. The surgeon can only work with what he already has to work with. And when I see graft results from people who had anatomy similar to mine pre-op, they're not the results that I would want from a nipple graft. And I know deep down in my heart that my anatomy is not going to be pierceable after grafts. It's not pierceable as it is right now. So getting grafts is just going to make it less pierceable, not more pierceable. And so after doing a lot of research and talking one-on-one with a lot of my clients and having a lot of interactions, I've decided that I'll be much happier with my results if I opt to not go for grafts and not deal with the headache of potential revisions and then scarring in the middle of my chest from dealing with those grafts. And if I just go full flat, full smooth, and I think I have a much higher likelihood of having results that I'm happier with if I opt to do it this way. Now, there is a huge part of me that's bummed that I'm not keeping them and I'm kind of giving up on one dream that I had had. But when I think of the grand scheme of how I want to feel in my body after top surgery and how my dysphoria affects me and what gain I'm looking, I think if I got grafts that I wasn't happy with, I would be so upset and so dysphoric over that, much more so than if I don't get grafts. And there's that occasional tiny voice in my brain that's but what if? Because I know logically that my grafts are not going to give me the results that I want. And I know I'm not going to have anatomy that's suitable for piercing them afterwards. And it's been hard to be honest with myself about that, but it's also, I think, important to be honest with myself about that and lead me to ultimately making a decision for my top surgery that's what's right and the best for me. And when I see folks in a lot of top surgery spaces discuss like their plans for nipple grafts and their plans for their results, I hear a lot of people talk about their ideal, right? We all have an ideal mental picture of what we're going to look like after surgery, our dream results. But we also have to be realistic about what happens if that doesn't work out. And I see so many people say, "Oh my God, if my grafts don't turn out good, if I can't get them pierced, if I have all these problems, like I'm going to lose it. Like I don't know what I'm going to do." Some people say some pretty extreme things. And to me, if you feel that way, which I do, I think it would be incredibly dysphoric and very triggering and very unhealthy for me mentally if my grafts had a bad outcome. I'm just not going to take that risk. And I am going to look at my current anatomy, people who've had anatomy similar to mine. I'm going to talk with my doctor. I would talk with my piercer. I am my piercer, so I've talked to myself about it. And really make an honest, informed decision based on all of those things. And I've had some really frank conversations with my surgeon about what would be possible with my anatomy with grafts. And I appreciate my surgeon being honest with me and being like, look, you have very flat, petite anatomy as it is right now. Your grafts are going to end up being very flat. And they're not going to have much protrusion. They're not going to have much texture. And I want you to be prepared for that. And also, because of the amount of scarring you have from previous piercings, you have a higher risk of graft rejection. You just don't have as much blood flow in the area. And I was like, wow, thank you for being honest with me about this and having this conversation with me, allowing me to make the ultimate decision to not keep them and not get them grafted. My hope in making this video is that for anyone else who has been struggling with this question the way I have, there's a lot of folks out there who talk about getting grafts and loving them. There's a lot of people out there who talk about getting grafts and regretting them. But I haven't seen a lot of folks talk openly about the decision not to get grafts, especially not people who want to keep their nipples. Most folks I've seen talk about it who didn't were neutral or indifferent or actively didn't want them. Nipple removal is a pretty popular body modification procedure. I haven't seen a lot of people who would have wanted to keep them talk about making the difficult decision to not keep them because you know you're probably not going to have a good outcome with your body and your anatomy and your surgery and things like that. So this is me sharing a little bit of my process in making this difficult decision, but ultimately I think really, really right decision for me. If anyone has any questions or wants to inbox me and talk personally, especially if you're struggling with this decision yourself, please feel free to reach out. My inbox on Instagram and my email through my website is always open. And I hope that by sharing a little bit of my process and my struggle, it helps make it easier for others to make the same decision. All right, folks, thanks for hanging out and letting me share a little bit about this journey I'm still going on. And I can't wait to have more transition and top surgery updates for you as soon as I figure it out more with insurance and my surgeon. And I'm sure we'll sit down and chat again soon. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.